From Cape Town to Johannesburg, Newcastle to Port Elizabeth, we bring you the best of Muslim South Africa. Assalamu alaikum, you are watching An Nur the Light. Shukran for making the time and effort to watch our show. Dr. Amima Sundas is a medical doctor who is making a difference in the lives of the community she serves. We brought you her story.
South Africa has some of the greatest medical professionals working across the country. From big cities to small towns, the care and concern for patients remain very high. In the small town of Newcastle in KwaZulu-Natal, Dr. Amima Sundas is a specialist physician who's been making a name for herself. She's well known for placing the well-being of her patients above all else.
I'm a specialist physician, and specialist physician is not a GP, general practitioner, because general practitioner deals with everything. It's the internal medicine which we deal with in a specialized way. So that includes everything which comes in medicine, not surgery. So it deals with heart, with kidneys, with lungs, with your rheumatology, everything, even neurology. I was working in Grace Hospital. I did specialization from there, but I think I was destined for this place. I was not really inclined to come to this area, but all of a sudden somebody approached me that I can come here because there's no physician here. So I started.
Dr. Sundas strives to give the best quality service at her practice. Located in central Newcastle with a state-of-the-art equipment and dedicated staff at her practice, her team strongly believes in making a difference in the lives of those in need of care.
The patient with kidney failure, we dialyze them there. Patient who have end-stage kidney disease, where the kidneys just completely stop working. So we dialyze, it gives them quality of life and it gives them time before transplant. So transplant is the end, but before that, and most of the patients are very happy because dialysis unit is in the vicinity, and they can just come, have 4 hours or 3 hours of dialysis 3 times a week, then they go home. When they come, they just bring their own work, they bring their computers, and they do their work. So they are quite happy about that. And I pray for my patient, no matter what their religion is, but I pray for my patients and for my work.
Dr. Sundas recently made a significant contribution to medical care in this area by introducing neurology services. This is the only service of its kind in the whole of northern KwaZulu-Natal and includes multiple medical testing departments.
There are many other tests, neurological problems, which we cannot test any other way. So there are special tests. And people had to go all the way to big cities. They had to travel. It was a big financial burden. It was difficult for us to get the authorization from medical aid, to get the appointments for the patients. So that inspired me to start this neurology service. And it's a big blessing for the area because people don't have to travel that far now, and we can do all the tests of a diagnosis. Diagnosis is much more easier and quicker.
When not seeing to the needs of others, Dr. Sundas can be found at home with the family. Her husband, who is also a doctor, has been her greatest support and partnered with her so she could follow her heart. Here she gets to recharge on love and affection from those most dear to her.
Family is actually my base, and rest everything is aside. Family is something which actually gives me the hope for everything. It gives me the strength to work tomorrow in my hectic hours. Spending time with them like really gold moments for me. My husband is the one who is actually standing by me for everything. He is the one who is encouraging me for all my studies, everything what I do. Whenever I slip somewhere, whenever I am stuck somewhere, or whenever I'm feeling low, he's the one who gives me the strength. He's the one who helps me for children, and our children are very bright. And I must say that I may not be able to give that much quality time to them, but I really appreciate his effort into this. And at home, helping me for even cooking and with children. He is all my life.
Dr. Sundas strongly believes that physical, emotional and spiritual health cannot be separated, as these are fundamental for a good life. She continues to work on her efforts to uplift those in her community, but most importantly, provide good quality healthcare in a much needed part of the country.
Over the course of the past few years, we've sought South Africa's most stylish Muslim brothers and sisters. We do this to show that modest wear can be both fashionable and cool at the same time. Let's see what this week's street style has for us.
This is not hijab, okay? This is modest fashion, and for me, yes, I do enjoy it a bit, but as I go through life and as I get a little bit more mature, I try to do less of the modest fashion and more portraying hijab as a Muslim woman.
Islamic fashion is very important to me. This is who I am, it's my identity. And dressing fashionable, it lets people know that Islam is not boring.
For me, hijab is modest covering. I love throwing colors, as you can see, into the outfits that I choose.
My scarf is inspired by the way the Arabs drape it with the bun at the back. My top is 3/4. It's got a bit of a sequence going on here, attached cow neck with a flowy skirt.
This is just a maxi skirt and a long sleeve and a scarf.
It's blue denim, jeans, ripped at the ends, and I have on a pastel shade jacket that can be worn in summer or winter. I have a white tee. My turban complements my chain. It's bright pink.
I don't really have a personal style. I just go with whatever I feel, whatever covers me, whatever works, and whatever I feel comfortable in wearing.
I like classic, elegant, that's my style.
My personal style, well, it's very simple, sometimes chic. I love being formal and elegant.
I used to draw my inspiration a lot from the YouTubers I used to follow when I first started getting into the whole Islamic fashion kind of thing. But now it's mostly the women around my family, because I feel they, more than the other people, embody what true hijab is.
I look up to my auntie because she's also a colorful person.
I know I'm a bit small in size, very petite, but I love big necklaces, big watches, and yeah, big rings. So those are my favorite.
Not only has modest wear become cool, but it's really made a mark for itself both locally and internationally. This week's topic deals with cervical cancer, and we found out what you can do to better deal with it.
Cervical cancer is one of the leading causes of death in women globally and appears to be more prevalent in developing countries. It is regarded as the second most common form of cancer amongst women in South Africa, with an average of 8 females dying on a daily basis from the disease.
Cervical cancer is when there's a cancerous disease of the cervix, and when the cells are abnormal. And like any cancer, a cancer has the potential to grow and to spread, and cancer can kill someone in the end. There are many causes for cervical cancer, and two broadly can be divided into two groups. So firstly, it is genetics, and two, environment. Now, genetics, at the moment, we can't do anything about that. What you have is what you have. Environmental causes for cervical cancer would be smoking, exposure to human papillomavirus, which mainly is sexual exposure, and any situation where immunity is severely depressed. So, for example, like HIV/AIDS, that goes untreated.
The month of September has been earmarked to highlight as well as bring awareness to people across the country about cervical cancer. Prevention and detection remain the best way to curb the pandemic.
Cervical cancer is the commonest cancer in women in South Africa under the age of 40. Over the age of 40, breast cancer becomes the commonest, and the tragedy is that it is completely preventable if there is appropriate screening, testing, and treatment at the right time. We can detect changes that occur in the cervix from a pap smear even before it becomes cancerous, so that we can actually treat it. At the moment, there is no national screening program in South Africa for the screening of cervical cancer. So it is reliant on the general public for women to find their own way with regards to screening.
Pap smears remain one of the best ways to diagnose cervical cancer. Guidelines exist as to how often this procedure has to be done.
Women should start with pap smears once they are sexually active, at least a year after their first sexual experience. And if they've had 2 normal annual pap smears in a row and they are low risk, which means they don't smoke and they have 1 sexual partner, then they can do the pap smears every 2 to 3 years. The other way is using the cervical cancer vaccine. So it is not a vaccine that protects against cervical cancer per se, but against human papillomavirus, which is one of the most important causative factors. So the vaccine has been developed to prevent infection from human papillomavirus subtype 16 and 18, and there's some cross-reactivity with some other strains, but those are the 2 most common causes associated with cervical cancer.
The journey of cervical cancer patients and survivors is not that easy. To many, it comes with pain, trauma, and a loss of hope. For others, it comes with patience, faith, and encouragement to step up and be themselves again.
So cervical cancer, it depends, the cancer needs to be staged, and the treatment will depend on which stage a cancer is. So the cancer ranges from stage 1, which is very limited cancer, and early cancer, to stage 4, which is the more advanced cancer that has spread. So stage 1 cancer and stage 2, the early part of stage 2 cancer for cervical cancer, can still be treated with surgery, which means you cut out the cancer, and that is usually involving a hysterectomy, which is removal of the uterus. That may or may not be combined with a combination of radiation therapy and possibly chemotherapy as well, and that's curative. Once you get past the second part of stage 2 and stage 3 and stage 4, then surgery has a limited role to play in that area, and more we look at either chemotherapy or radiation or possibly both, just as what we call palliation, prolonging life, making somebody comfortable so that they don't have symptoms of bleeding and pain.
Cervical cancer may not necessarily be terminal. If found early, it can be treated. Education remains a key weapon in the fight against the disease, as well as informing one of the preventative measures. The fight against this pandemic begins with you, and whilst there is much still to be known about the cause of cancer, there also is much that allows us to live healthy lives.
Please don't forget that if you have any questions for Maulana Ebrahim Bam, then do send to us. You can use email or our social media pages. Details on screen. Books, tech and apps are up next.
It is 1993. South Africa is on the brink of total transformation, And in Walmer Estate, a busy suburb on the slopes of Devil's Peak, 14-year-old Alia Dawood is about to undergo a transformation of her own. She watches with fascination and fear as the national drama unfolds, longing to be part of what she knows to be history in the making. As her revolutionary aspirations strengthen in the months before the elections, her intense radical uncle Walid reappears, forcing her parents and sister Nasreen to confront her subversive and dangerous past. Playwright, academic and now novelist Nadia Davids, An Imperfect Blessing, takes the reader into another part of Cape Town's multi-ethnic community. It is a vibrant, funny and moving debut by a person who has made a name for herself in the world of theatre. The book places one family's story at the heart of a country's rebirth and interrogates issues of faith, race, belonging and freedom. As Muslims, we all know how difficult it can be to travel, and this was how Have Halal Will Travel started. 4 friends who couldn't find halal food or places to visit, and then tried to make things easier for others who found themselves in a similar situation. Today, they are well established and becoming a wealth of information, focusing on food reviews, places to see and things to do. The list of countries where they travel to is also growing on a monthly basis. And there are contributions from people within those countries, giving you a local's perspective as well as the hidden gems. Log on to their website, havehalalwilltravel.com, to find out more. The Prophetic Medicine app has been developed for medical references from the Holy Quran and the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This app has categorized the principle of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam medication into 5 concepts, which are the true principles of shifa, healing, which cure both the heart and body. Healing by belief, yaqeen, that Allah has sent the disease and Allah is the healer, and if the healing is delayed, it is by Allah's wisdom and hikmah. Healing by amal is salihat, salat, sadaqah, fast, Quran, dhikr, du'as and ruqayah, husn e khulq, abstaining from sins, istighfar, etc. Healing by the foods of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, healing by the herbs of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Healing by hijima, which is sunnah and the best kind of treatment in this world. It can be downloaded on both Android and Apple phones.
If you have any suggestions about new tech or apps that are being developed specifically by Muslims or for Muslims in South Africa, then please let us know. Lomise du Toit is ready to show us how to make chicken livers with Prego sauce.
Assalamu alaikum. Weekend snacking at my house is a favorite pastime. And rather than tucking into that chips and chocolates that we all know you have a stash of in your left drawer, I've come up with a healthy snack that my boys absolutely love. And it's a great way of getting your iron levels up. So what I'm going to be making is some fried chicken livers in a Prego sauce. And to do that, you need the following ingredients. I've got 500 grams of chicken livers. I've got salt and white pepper, and then a half a cup of your favorite hot sauce. I've got some cream that we're going to be using to make the Prego sauce, oil for frying. I've got 1 clove of garlic that I've just grated. I've got 1 green chili that I've left the seeds in and just sliced open. 1 medium onion finely chopped, and then just to get that nice crispy coating on our livers, I've got some flour for dusting. So the first thing we need to do is to start by seasoning our chicken. So I'm going to liberally season my chicken livers with salt and white pepper, and white pepper is just that much tastier. And rather than getting my fingers into all of this, I use a fork just to mix all of this through. And then I take individual pieces and I put it in my flour for a light dusting, and that gets popped into a hot pan. Here we go, first liver in. And what you want here is that sizzle, so that you get that nice crispy edges on the outside, and that holds onto the Prego sauce that we're going to be making shortly. So what you want is to get them crispy on the outside, but you don't want to overcook them, because that's when they go zabri and hard. And what I like to do is to turn my livers over at least twice, so I don't just fry them one on each side. So my chicken livers are cooked and nicely browned, and now we're going to start by making our Prego sauce. Let me just get this out of the way. So I'm not cleaning this pan, we're using exactly the same pan that still has all of this liver goodness in it. Put that to one side, and now I'm going to add my onions. And these we're just going to saute until they're nice and soft and golden and sweet. And to help that along, just adding a pinch of salt, my chili, and my garlic. These work really well with those ready-made Prego sauces as well. The only difference that I add is the cream at the end, just to give it that nice gluggy texture. And you serve it with some crispy toasted bruschettas on the side. Eat it out of a bowl. All you're going to need is a spoon. If you find that your onions start to stick, just do a drizzle more of oil, because what you want them to do is fry. So my onions are nice and caramelized. So what I'm going to do before I add the rest of my ingredients is remove my 2 chilies, because you don't want to blend this in your mix. It's just going to make it way too hot. And to this, I'm going to add my ½ a cup of your favorite sauce, and then a ½ a cup of cream. And then we just give these a few minutes in the pan just to get to know each other really well. And then all this needs is a good zap with a blender. Okay, so I'm using an immersion blender. These are just so easy and handy. That's perfect, because I want it a little bit smooth, but enough for there to still be some texture. And back in go my livers. Just give this a quick stir, because everything's still nice and warm. And let that just sit for 2 minutes. Well, I'll go and get some garnish. Okay, so these are ready to go. So all we have to do is plate. And my favorite way of serving this is in a bowl with some toasted bruschetta. And like I said, all you're gonna need is a spoon. And there you have it, my favorite weekend snack. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
I must say, I love my chicken livers, so Lemisa's recipe is definitely going onto my cooking list. In fact, I'm going to head out right away to stock up on ingredients. Have a blessed day ahead. Kinna Mari Mukwanda, Kiri Aribuwe Ribona Nenghapi. Assalamu alaikum.